Hello everyone, today we are playing Brew I like to call the Bean Killer. Okay, so what cards are good against Beanstalk? So definitely Orcish Bowmaster, one of the best cards against it. But we also have Narset, Parter of the Wheels. This card can completely ruin their game plan, stopping the draws, stopping their entire game engine, and it can just definitely be hard for them to deal with. They have to have binding and the fury at the exact moment. Even if they do have it, they still don't get the trigger from the beans when they cast it, and then you can gem another one or find another threat or solution, whatever. Definitely a lot of cards that they have a hard time playing against in this build. We also have a Sheoldred. This card is a nightmare for them, so when they have one beans, it's okay, like one spell loses them 2 life, but when they have like 3 beans and you pass the turn with the Sheoldred, they lose 2 on the draw step, and when they cast the spell they lose 6, and if you have like one lightning bolt on this or a Snapcaster or something like that, or Inquiry with a Bowmaster, whatever, if you applied before that some minimal pressure, they will be in a very hard situation to get out of this, even if they kill it immediately. Okay, what else, what cards are good against specifically Cascade Beans? Ragavan is a great card against the deck because it's good against all Cascade. They have to pitch cast Elemental in the first 2 turns to kill Ragavan. If they don't do this, they get hit. We get mana advantage, sometimes even card advantage, cards from their library, stuff like that. But so Ragavan is very good, and also Spell Pierce. So they're using 3 mana, 4 mana Cascade spells to get the Beanstalk on the field, and Spell Pierce is a 1 mana solution in the main that just completely ruins their game plan of cascading into the card advantage. So lot of good cards for that matchup in the main deck of this deck. On the sideboard we have some additional hate, Force of Negation. This card also, especially when you're on the draw, allows you to play your threats like Orcish Bowmaster, Narset, and still hold the interaction and be able to like counter their beans while applying pressure, and it works very well. Okay, so that is it. On the sides, additionally, we have some graveyard hate, some more creature hate, artifact hate, land hate, and that's it. So let's go join a league and see how the games felt. Okay, so I call this brew a Bean Killer because I played 2 leagues total with this deck, and 7 times I paired against a lot of different beans decks, and I won all 7 games against beans. So I ended up 4-1 in my both leagues, and this is one of them. Okay, so let's see what happened here. I want to talk a bit about Burning Inquiry. So a lot of players are very skeptic of this card once they try it for the first time. So situation like this happens. You draw your initial hand, and your initial hand looks like this. So you have Burning Inquiry in hand and no synergy with it. And most players think, wow, this is pretty awkward. But you have a lot of synergy with it in your deck. There are 4 Bowmasters, 3 Narsets, 2 Sheoldreds. And this card wins games when paired with these cards. So you have to be really patient with this one, and I would recommend playing as much as synergy with Inquiry in your deck as possible. One of the best synergy cards with this card is Waste Not, and I have a lot of Waste Not builds on my channel. No Waste Not in this build, but there is Narset and the Sheoldred and the Bowmasters, and that is mostly enough. Okay, so let's go further and check how this went. I could go for a Burning Inquiry right now and try to hit my opponent for 6 more damage to the face, but my opponent plays Binding and Solitude, and I decided to not do this turn, and just to go for draw 2 with the Flame of Anor, holding the Spell Pierce in the process. Okay, so going for the Flame of Anor and finding another Bowmasters. They already used a Fury, and so I was comfortable in trying to go for the Burning Inquiry, and I did play it. I got 3 damage to the face, tried to mess up their hand, growled my Orc army to 4/4, and this was a pretty decent situation right now. My opponent already on 12 life. I have some threats on the field, and my opponent is forced to pitch cast another Fury just to kill my Orc army, which was very large at this point. And now I'm attacking with the Ragavan and the Bowmaster. So Ragavan is also a problem for them, and they're just on 2 mana at this point, and they still have to find a solution for Bowmaster. And my opponent has a 3rd Fury, but decides to go for Fury before Beanstalk. I think this was a mistake. They should have gone for the Beanstalk first to get the 2 damage to face and then kill the Bowmaster. Anyway, they would be on 7 life, but they would have like 1 more card in their hand, and that could potentially be relevant. Yeah, because they were right now in a very bad situation. So I casted Terminate to protect my Narset. And they go for another Beanstalk, but the Beanstalk doesn't draw them a card. So it's really bad situation for them. So I start with Expressive Iteration, trying to find a removal and lens. So I go for Ragavan here and hold the Fatal Push. This way, if they kill Ragavan, I have push to get rid of the attacker, and if they don't, I'm happy to trade. Okay, but opponent goes for Bloodbraid Elf, hitting a Teferi, so now I wasn't really able to use my Fatal Push on their turn, but I was able to trade with Bloodbraid Elf. My Narset has died, but opponent doesn't have a way to trigger beans right now, so I'm able to just resolve another Narset and kill the attacker they had. So I go for another one, minus it, get another bolt to hand, and I'm now on 7 cards in my hand. My opponent has just 1, and I have Narset on the field, completely disabling them from doing anything really. Okay, so also I have Bolt Snap in my hand. This means I'm very close to lethal, and I started turn with Expressive Iteration, and finding the Ragavan from the top, I decided just to hard cast the Ragavan and wait for the next turn to try to kill them, and that's it. Okay, opponent now has 5 mana, so this means they're able to hardcast their elementals. I go for a Ragavan attack first. Opponent has to fetch to play the Solitude. And yeah, I go Bolt, Snap, Bolt, finish off my opponent, and that is the game 1. Okay, let's check out the game 2. Okay, so the matchup is very favored for this deck against any bean deck, but of course they can still win, and you have to play well, and you have to know what are they doing, and always hold Pierce when necessary, play Bowmaster aggressively, and of course protect your Narset and think about possibilities what they could have on the field, and try to prevent them in the early turns with a Pierce, with a Force of Negation, from getting a lot of beans on the field undisturbed. So let's see my sideboarding plan. Here it is. Obviously push is not good in this matchup, so we're boarding that out. I mean, they play Shardless Agent, they play Bloodbraid Elf. but the Fatal Push is not mostly the card I'm hoping to draw in this matchup. I really prefer other kinds of interaction. Okay, so what else? Trimming on the Snapcaster. Flame of Anor also coming out. And yeah, so basically just trimming on the removal and trimming on one snap because I expect some graveyard hate, and that's it. Opponent steals my Narset with Commandeer, and yeah, this was pretty bad for me, but I had Terminate plus attack with the Bowmaster heal here to get rid of Narset, and now I unfortunately don't have another blue card in my hand to use the Force of Negation, but I am able to kill the Teferi, and it is a fine situation. Opponent has 3 cards in their hand and just 1 Beanstalk on the field, and I have Bowmaster and Ragavan, so yeah, this was the deciding factor in this game. Opponent top deck Omnat, and I didn't get a mana for a turn, which means they were able to stabilize, then play another fetch, gain 4 more life, and this way they made my Sheoldred in my hand not so impactful really. Sheoldred is very good when opponent is below 15 life and then starts to pinging them face for 2 every turn, and every spell they play when they have Beanstalk on the field becomes very painful. But with Omnat on the field it's really not that much of a problem. And yeah, so opponent also had solutions for my Sheoldreds, and I wasn't able to do much about it anymore. So my opponent totally got in control of this game, and that was it. So let's check out the game tree. You have to keep applying pressure through whole game, always have some kind of threat available. It can be Bowmaster, it can be Ragavan, it can be Narset of course, and the Sheoldred. Okay, so let's see how this one went. I'm on the play, opponent uses, this is why Ragavan is good. Opponent will often use pitch elemental in the early turns to get rid of it if they have it, and that already puts you ahead on cards. And after this, if you can go like Spell Pierce on their Beanstalk or Teferi, whatever, you get in a pretty decent situation. And as you can see here, I went for the Preordain, I got the Pierce in hand, I have Ragavan, I have Inquiry, and basically now waiting to draw Bowmaster or Narset or Sheoldred. Narset with Inquiry completely messes up with their hand. They draw 1 card and then discard a 3 on random. That's pretty brutal. After that, you mostly if opponent is not insanely lucky, you mostly win the game. Okay, so that is it. Still just dashing the Ragavan, holding the Pierce, waiting with the Inquiry, and opponent goes for the Bloodbraid Elf again and the Teferi, so I definitely wanted to use my Pierce here. So now I had 3 mana with the treasures open, and I decided to go for the Xander cycle, end of turn, getting the Preordain and the Expressive Iteration. So I start my turn with the Expressive Iteration, finding another Bowmaster. This enabled me to ping their face, put another very serious threat on the field, and trade with the Bloodbraid Elf and Orc token. So my opponent is 3 cards in hand, 0 Beanstalks on the field, and yeah, so now they find their Omnat. I start the turn with Preordain, getting Expressive, finding another Bowmaster and putting it in hand. I didn't have mana to go for another Expressive Iteration, so I just play my Ragavan and hold the Force of Negation for their turn. So playing Ragavan means opponent can't really attack me with Omnat, they have to stay in block, and they play a land gaining 4 life. And yeah, now that Burning Inquiry, which I had holded patiently in my hand, pays off. And that is what always happens with Burning Inquiry. When you're patient with it, this card wins games. And I was able to grow my Orc army to 4-4, kill Omnat with it, and connect with Ragavan. And I have like almost lethal right now. Very, very close to lethal. My opponent just a single card in their hand. And I have Spell Pierce, Force of Negation backup, taking Fire Ice from top of their library for immediate kill, and that is the game. That is match number 1. Okay, so let's check out match 2. Okay, one of rare matchups from these 2 leagues that wasn't 4-color beans. Okay, so I played against Living End opponent and I had turn 1 Ragavan and Spell Pierce plus Snapcaster in my hand. This is very, very difficult for them to deal with. Even if they have Grief, I still have a Snapcaster. So their turn 3 Cascade Living End is not definitely resolving. I went Preordain, finding me Expressive Iteration, and Ragavan, as I already said, is pretty good against all the Cascade decks, and definitely very good against Living End. They just don't have any removal for it, and they are just always taking the damage from it. And yeah, that's it. So I went for that iteration, finding another iteration and land. So I'm still very comfortable just attacking with Ragavan, holding the Pierce. Okay, so opponent goes for it. I have the Spell Pierce, and I also immediately have the Fatal Push to get rid of Charles. Now I also have Flame of Anor to draw me 2 if needed. I start the turn with Expressive, finding a land and holding 2 not 1 but 2 Snapcasters for their turn. And yeah, opponent tries to go for another Shardless Agent. They didn't have the Outbursts. Outbursts are much better against a deck like mine, but they were forced to play at sorcery speed. And yeah, so now I was untapping with 4 damage on the field, which means 2 turn clock, killing the Shardless, 4 damage, and now I have lethal with Bolt and Snapcaster, but I just pass the turn, wait for opponent to act first, and that is it. Opponent concedes. That is the game. Let's check out the game 2. Okay, let's see my sideboarding in this matchup. Okay, so I trimmed on Inquiries, trimmed on all removal except Bolt. Bolt can go face and can be fine. But I definitely don't want to push and terminate. I want to play without needing to play post resolving their Living End. If they resolve the Living End, mostly it's game over. Okay, so I just want to say that my sideboard was slightly different in this when I played in this league. I think I only had 1 Fury on the side, and now I switched to 2 Furies, so sorry if that creates a little bit of confusion. And I had Chalice of the Void, Doughty Voidwalker, and the Ragavan, and the Force of Negation, and that is too much for my opponent and they concede this match. That is it. Okay, so let's check out more Beans matchups, see how that went. Okay, so this is another Bean matchup. I had to mulligan the starting 7 and kept a pretty fine 6. A Preordain, Spell Pierce and a Narset. That's good against most decks. So I find the Ragavan, so I'm very happy to play turn 2 Ragavan, hold the Spell Pierce. And yeah, it was of course another Beans matchups. Those are pretty popular right now. I'm not sure if I'll be able to play this one until the end. I had problems previously with replaying this match. So I'll take, I'm not sure what was happening here. I had like serious problems trying to replay this one. It's just, I had to record all over again because this match wasn't, didn't replay as it should be. So I went for Expressive Iteration here. Finding the land, holding the Pierce for their turn. Opponent tries to go for Charles to resolve the Beanstalk, but I have the Pierce, so I pierce the first one, and now I'm able to play the Narset, get the ability, and prevent them from drawing with Beans again, but I also get a very good top deck. Sheoldred, so I decided to play Sheoldred first and then go hope for to get the land and play Terminate plus Narset on the next turn. Okay, so opponent has immediate solution for Sheoldred and plays Fable. So now I get the land I wanted to double spell with Terminate plus Narset, getting me another Terminate, which is good for next turn. This means if they succeed to kill my Narset, I still can double spell. And yeah, okay, so my opponent was prevented from using the Fable ability because of the Narset. They also played another Cascade spell hitting more Beans, but again they were prevented from drawing with Beans. So they didn't gain any card advantage right now, and I had another Narset in my hand and 2 removals. I had option to go for a double removal here, but I decided to just gem the Narset again, get the ability going, and hope they won't be able to kill it this turn. Okay, so Opponent flips the Kiki-Jiki, attacks for 2 and resolves another Charles and the Beanstalk. It was a kind of a tricky situation right now because they had a lot of creatures on the field and I didn't have any more of the Narset abilities. So I decided it's time to let the Narset die and draw 2 cards here with the Flame. But I did get another Narset. From the top, opponent tries to resolve another Beans, but I have the Spell Pierce for that one. And yeah, so now problem is 3 Shardless Agent. I have another Narset, I have Expressive Iteration. That is pretty good hand, but I need a lot of removals to fight through this one and protect my Narset from dying. So I start off with Expressive Iteration, finding the Inquiry, but the opponent had the Binding, got a lot of draws, and I just wasn't able to get out of this one. I was actually able to get out of this one. I had opportunity to play Sheoldred plus Inquiry on this turn, but I misplayed and it almost costed me the match. I played Fatal Push plus Sheoldred. I should have just played the Sheoldred and the Burning Inquiry. But yeah, that was much safer. It would gain me 6 life, I would be on 10, and I would not die right now. An opponent didn't have a way to kill a Sheoldred at this point, so if I played this a little bit better, I would maybe stay in this game and with Narset maybe even win. Yeah, but right now opponent had lethal here, but decides to gain me some life and give me another shot at winning. And I had Inquiry plus Narset in hand. This means if I draw another Sheoldred, I win. Yeah, but that didn't happen, and that was loss in game 1. So let's see how I managed to win next 2 matches. Okay, so as I said, when I played this league, I only had 1 Fury on the side, so don't confuse that, as at the moment in the finished list I have 2 Furies on the side. Okay, so again, as I said before, same sideboard, taking out 2 fatal pushes, trimming on Snapcaster, and trimming on 1 Inquiry, and that's basically it. I really want to board in 3 Force of Negations. That enabled me to have more solutions to their cascading. I keep pretty good hands. I have Bowmaster, I have Narset. Okay, so I decided to board in the explosives too in this time, but this wasn't a good decision. I completely abandoned this idea after this experiment, so I would not board in expressive engineered explosives on the play against beans. On the draw maybe, but still it hits your Orcish Bowmasters and can be pretty bad, so I think it's don't think it's good. I would avoid it definitely. Okay, so opponent plays another Triumph, and I'm able to resolve my Bowmaster. So I'm hoping for another land. If I get another land, I have multiple options here. I can go yeah, I can go a lot of stuff, but I didn't get it, so I decided just to go for a Ragavan dash, and opponent decided to get rid of Ragavan, which I think it was pretty good for me. They got beans on the field, which means I grow my Orc army this way. Yeah. And I go for, yeah, as you can see, I go for another Bowmaster and a Burning Inquiry, getting me 6 Bowmaster triggers. This means 4 damage to face, 2 damage to agent, clear the way for attacking, and my Orc army grows very big, and I think this is like almost, I think it is very close to lethal. It is, I have 12 damage here with the Orc army growing, and yeah, so that was pretty quick game 2, so let's check out game 3. I decide to keep a 1-lander, but 1-lander with Preordain. I think with 20 lands in deck, and I think if your hand is decent like this one, I think keeping 1-lander with Preordain is fine, of course if Preordain is castable. Okay, I go for the Preordain, finding the land, that's exactly what I wanted. And I also got a Force of Negation, so I was able to get rid of the first Beanstalk. That is pretty good. Then I just put my land on the field, prepare to play Expressive Iteration on the next turn, while holding the Spell Pierce if they try to go for the Cascade. Now I have a third land, I have multiple options, and I think I chose the worst one. Yeah, definitely chose the worst one. It was so obvious they have Bloodbraid Elf, and I didn't think about this at all. So this was the worst play. I should have gone just for pass the turn, holding the Bowmaster, holding the Pierce. This was terrible play actually, but at least they were prevented from drawing with the Beanstalk. Okay, so I put myself in a bad position, and this is definitely a way I can lose this game. I didn't play this as well as I could, and this play got me into a very weird position. So I was able to find the land with iteration, and on their turn go with the Bowmaster and trade my Orc with the Bloodbraid Elf, leaving me still with the Bowmaster as a good threat on the field, forcing there a Teferi. And now I have Bowmasters on the field, I have the explosives in my hand, which is useless. Definitely not liking it, and but I also have Narset in hand, so Narset plus Bowmasters is like ultimate, ultimate bean hate, and of course. So let's see what happened here. I played Narset and had Burning Inquiry in my hand, resolve the Inquiry. So Bowmasters plus Narset don't work that well together. Because when I play the Burning Inquiry, opponent only draws one card because of the Narset, so I don't get the same amount of triggers with the Bowmaster, but that really doesn't matter because opponent still draws only one card and discards 3 at random, so Narset completely, with Inquiry, completely demolishes opponent's hand, and I discarded 3 cards at random from their hands. Those cards were Fury, Shardless Agent, and Fable, and yeah, they were just, game was over after this. So it doesn't matter that you only get one trigger from the Bowmaster because the Narset is just too good with it. Okay, so another iteration finding me Ragavan. So I'll go for the attacks here. Opponent now on 6 life after the attacks, and Narset is still on the field, preventing them from drawing. They can cast spells on my turn to get the additional draw, but that's it. Also, I have Preordain to find another threat from the top. I find the Snapcaster and pass the turn. Opponent has Shardless, but Shardless is useless, Beanstalk is useless, doesn't draw them a card, and I have multiple options right now. Flame of Anor in my graveyard, Burning Inquiry, but they're just on one card in hand right now. So multiple options, and I also draw, I was already very good, and I also draw the Bowmaster from the top, so it was more than good. I went for attacks here, played the Bowmaster, and opponent concedes on another Bowmaster. That was the game and the match. And we can now check match 4, another Beanstalk matchup. Okay, so I played Preordain, and I had third Bowmaster on top, but decided to ditch the third one because I was looking to find another land. So if I knew what the matchup was, I would maybe leave it on top. But yeah, 2 Bowmasters was plenty already. So I decided to go for that second Bowmaster's end of turn. That didn't work out well for me. I didn't really think this through. Yeah, and the opponent had counterspell plus binding, and this was terrible for me. I had such a good situation and I almost ruined it. But yeah, again you see how important all these small decisions are, and I got Ragavan. Yeah, this play was just brutal. So I dashed Ragavan, getting Teferi from top. I played their Teferi, bounced the binding, getting this Bowmaster back, killing their Teferi, and then playing my Inquiry. They are not able to counter it because I have Teferi, and I deal 3 damage to their face, growing my Orc army token to 4/4. It was just incredible. Okay, so I go for Ragavan dash, opponent uses the counter spell. I go for another Inquiry, they don't have the Solitude, which means I deal 3 damage to their face, mess up with their hand, discarding Terminus, Knot and the Beanstalk, and making a 3/3 Orc. And yeah, so they play the Beanstalk, try to find a removal for Orc, they don't have it, and Orc is lethal next turn. That is it. Pretty easy games against Beanstalk's decks, and especially since I punted in both of these matches and still won, that also says a lot. Okay, so I would advise against this engineered explosives, just they wasn't good. I was still experimenting at this point. This was my first league with it, and yeah, I would not bring in the explosives. I think they're completely unnecessary. So this time I went to Bowmasters on my turn to not play it into counterspell like last time. But yeah, again, I didn't have much choice at the moment, and didn't want to play into the verdict. So this was a different deck than the one I played before, and that's why I decided to go again for the Bowmaster end of turn, and I played the Inquiry, getting 3 damage to opponent's face, dashing the Ragavan, and this is a lot of damage. This is 7 damage, leaving my opponent on 4. Opponent actually cast the Terminus here, taking my entire board and getting 1 damage to the face. Playing Narset, and yeah, so now I have a Ragavan dash, leaving my opponent on 1 life. Again, I get their Teferi and pass the turn, so they were able to deal with Teferi, but still had to deal with Ragavan, and I start my turn with Expressive Iteration, finding 1 Ragavan. They had counter for that one, and but they didn't have answer for second one from my hand, and that was another win for another match against the Beanstalk. And that's it. So let's check out the final match for the trophy. And the final match was Scam. I think this deck is decently positioned against Scam. I think the matchup is very even. Okay, so I had a pretty brutal hand. My opponent decides to take Bowmasters and Bolt, and I still find a solution for Grief. Immediate fatal push to get rid of it, and I still had Preordains and Ragavan in my hand. Opponent dashes the Ragavan. I was trying to find a red land to cast my Ragavan and Expressive Iteration, but I was facing another Ragavan dash, and yeah, so now fetching the Steam Vents was kind of hard for my life total, but I got second Pierce, so it was worth it to stay back with Ragavan. Try to utilize my Pierces. But opponent has Fury to kill my Ragavan and then do another dash, putting me on 4 life. With 2 useless spell pierces in my hand. They did take Narset from top, so I used one of my pierces to prevent them from using the Narset. So I started my turn with Expressive Iteration, finding me the Orcish Bowmasters. This was definitely among few plays I needed and wanted. Opponent then goes for Doughty Voidwalker and Ragavan. This is kind of perfect for me. I was able to go end of turn Bowmasters, kill the Ragavan, and then on my turn go for a Burning Inquiry. Burning Inquiry is pretty brutal right now, growing my Orc Army token, killing their Doughty Voidwalker, and yeah, so I play another Bowmaster and attack for 6, leaving my opponent at 8 life and still holding the Spell Pierce. So I draw the Terminate for the turn, which puts me in a pretty comfortable position. Only thing they could have is like Bolt, and they only play 1 or 2 of those these days. So that was a win against Scam, and I was really close to getting a trophy here, just 1 game away, and I mulliganed to 6 in game 2, and it was pretty good 6. So let's see how I sideboarded for the Scam matchup. Please remember that I only had 1 Fury in the sideboard when I played this league. If I had that second one, I think I would win. Yeah, so I think this dress down would usually be Fury. Okay, so okay, let's see the sideboard again. Okay, so this time I trimmed only 1 pierce. I decided to keep 2 pierces in, though they can be pretty bad at times, but countering Fable, countering Moon, Terminate, and Undying spells can be relevant. So I decided to keep 2. Trimmed a couple of Ragavans because they are Bowmasters deck, and Ragavan can be pretty bad, especially on the draw. On the play it is a little bit better. Trimming 1 Inquiry, as I said, and that's it. So I used dress downs from a sideboard, but I think I didn't watch carefully now, but I think I made a mistake somewhere. I definitely made a mistake somewhere in this match. I'm trying to remember what it was. Okay, so I went for Bowmasters block here, expecting them really to try to... Okay, so this is how I killed the Grief. Oh yeah, I think the mistake was I shocked in. No, I'm not sure what it was, I forgot. Okay, so I used my dress down to trigger the Fatal Push and kill the Grief. And I find a Narset from the top, which was actually like pretty good for me, but opponent has the Bowmaster in their hand and finds the lethal, which is really a pity because next turn I would do another Narset ability, cast the Iteration, and probably just completely stabilize and win. I think somewhere along the game I unnecessarily lost 1 or 2 life with my fetching, and maybe could play this differently to win this game and stabilize, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's go through the game 3. I kept worst hand of those I had so far, but it is decent, like Push and Bowmaster, that's pretty good. Opponent starts off with Totsis, taking the Bowmaster. I decided to find my basics, and unfortunately started top decking lands. I got a bunch of these. I mean, I was expecting them to use the Undying spell, but I went for push anyway because I kind of wanted to play my Narset next turn. But when I draw a bolt for the turn, I decided to go for the bolt, and opponent finds a Totsis to get rid of my Narset, which was pretty bad for me right now. Narset would be perfect into their Fable, and that Totsis changed everything. Yeah, I was getting lands from the top, and had too much lands, much more than my opponent. My opponent only 3 lands compared to 6. And in their upkeep I go for the Goblin Shaman token. This way, if they draw a card, I kill their Shaman token. So basically completely disables my opponent. But they had the perfect stuff they needed. Orcish Bowmaster there to get rid of my Bowmaster. And Fable on the field. So I got the Narset, but unfortunately I wasn't able to use the Lightning Bolt immediately. My opponent only 1 card in their hand right now. They're forced to attack Narset, so I was hoping to stabilize here. I go for a bolt on Kiki Jiki and dash the Ragavan, but they have another Bowmaster, which is terrible for my Burning Inquiry in hand. It is like the worst card they could have right now. Absolutely the worst. Okay, so I think if they didn't draw that second Bowmaster, I would probably completely stabilize right now. I had Bowmaster with Inquiry in hand, and this meant I would be able to kill half of their board, but they also got a Fury from the top. So it's nothing to say, like perfect draws from Scam. We've seen this a lot of times in past, and we will continue seeing this. Very good deck. I think in the next league I again played against Scam and won that match. And yeah, okay, so that is it. That is the entire league. This deck, conclusion is this deck is really good against the Beanstalk. So is this the best deck to play against Beanstalk? I have some Rakdos variants. I actually have a Rakdos Saga Brew that I'm very happy with and still working on it, but it also performs very well against both Scam and the Beans deck. So Saga is a very powerful game plan against Scam, but also having Sheoldred and the Bowmaster in your deck helps a lot against the Beans decks. I also really like access to Spell Pierce and Force of Negation in the Grixis build, and I think this is definitely among few best decks to play against Beans decks. Obviously Black Coffers play the Bowmasters and Sheoldred too, but yeah, so there are some options, but I think this is very serious one to hate that deck. And it's also like very mid-rangey, very fun to play, good against a lot of decks, doesn't really have a lot of bad matchups, can play against anything. And yeah, so I kind of had problems against Tron in another league, and that's when I added 3 Obsidian Charms to the side. If I had that before, maybe I would get the trophy I needed. But okay, that's it. So I finally, I think, tweaked the list as I like it, and this is my final version at this moment, and that's it. So that is it for today. A friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, comment in the video, tell me about your experience playing this deck against Beans decks, and yeah, as you saw in the video, and it's really like that. So this deck can lose to Beans, but you have to play really tight and be careful. So if you do this right, I think you are very favored to win, and just a lot of stuff against them, and I didn't even sideboard perfectly in a lot of matches. I even had a couple of punts, but it still didn't matter. I won all those games, and that shows just how well positioned it is really against those decks. Okay, again, that is it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.